Today, I want to share with you how to turn energy leaks into energy peaks. As highly sensitive and empathic individuals, it's very easy to have a sense of, oh my goodness, my energy feels depleted. But in this case, I want to focus on understanding where the source of the leak comes from, because sometimes it's external. It might be a conversation or even something that you witnessed or heard, or it might be something internal where it's a thought that came to you, a memory that arose out of the blue, or just some emotion that you notice that you're feeling. Usually there's something that we can reflect on and notice has created this energy leak sometime in the recent past, because the energy leaks aren't usually obvious. It's a lot of times just a general feeling of just being low energy, feeling a little bit slower, not as quick to respond, feeling tired or fatigued when physically you're fine. So those are some indications that you might be dealing with an energy leak. So in that case, how do you actually identify what the leak is, and how do you patch the leak and then tap into those higher vibrations? The first step would be to trace the energy leak back to its source. So this requires you to be reflective over the past week or couple of weeks and think about, has there been anything that's happened or any thoughts or memories that have crossed my mind that might have started this feeling that I'm having? When did I actually notice this feeling start to creep in? And usually you can, if you look at the week in the past, you can actually pinpoint where something happened internally or externally that began that energy leak. So that depletion of your life force energy because you're feeling either in a lower state or you've taken on something from someone else. It could be a number of things. Like I said, it's internal or external. So where did that come from? Reflect and identify where that was. What was the source of that energy leak? Okay, so once you actually identify the source of the energy leak, then you can work through and process it. So an example from my life in the recent past has been last week I was feeling tired. I had gotten plenty of rest. I wasn't ill, but I was just feeling a little bit, a little bit slowed down. So I had to kind of stop and think, where did this feeling start? Okay, and basically it stemmed from a decision that I had made the prior week where I had taken something on that I didn't fully feel on board with. And I was feeling some reservations around that. And as I was working through it in my unconscious mind, sort of back in the distance, it was depleting my energy. I was starting to feel like a bit exhausted and spent, even though I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. So it was a lot of that mental energy that I was expending because of that decision that I had made. So what I had to do is just identify what that source was. So once you identify the energy leak and its source, then you want to bring in a higher aspect of yourself. And I call this the Divine Mother. This is the unconditional, loving, and caring part of you that can talk to the part of you that might be scared or hesitant or stuck or confused in any situation and can see it through the eyes of love. This Divine Mother aspect allows you to speak to yourself almost as if you're talking to a child. It could be your own child or just a little child that might need a little help, encouragement, understanding, compassion. And so you speak to yourself through the Divine Mother, and that energy helps to reframe the situation. It helps you to see probably some other aspects that you haven't seen just with your own limited perspective and feeling around it, that low energy feeling. A lot of times when we get stuck in those energy leaks, it's because we feel like there's nothing we can do in a certain situation. We feel stuck. So the Divine Mother, that higher part of yourself, whatever source that you connect to, can help you to see it in a different perspective and come up with different ways to move forward. So in my case, it was just a matter of giving myself permission to let go of that particular thing that I didn't feel completely aligned with. And then once I took action on that, I felt so much better. And, energy leak was solved, and I started moving into those higher levels of the energy peak, which was just feeling good, feeling calm and peaceful, feeling happy about the decision that I had made for my higher good. This is something that I've learned to do through the years, sort of in an unconscious sort of way. But as I stepped back to reflect on it, these are the steps that I take, and I find that it's helpful to be able to identify the source and then to reframe that situation and see it through a new perspective, the Divine Mother perspective. And then from that place, if there's anyone that you need to forgive, might be yourself, it might be another person, then you would want to do that as well. Forgive and release that connection and any sort of lower energy bind that you might have found yourself in previously. Allow yourself to let that go and release that. And then you just realign to that new energy. Where do you choose to be after making that new choice and taking that new action? It feels so much better when you're in alignment with what you're doing. And usually when we have an energy leak, there's some sort of lack of alignment going on, and we only need to identify what it is so that we can shift and change it. I hope this helps you identify some of those sneaky leaks that can deplete your energy. When you're able to actually trace the leak back to its source and reconnect to your source, then it is a fairly easy fix, and you can move forward and start feeling those higher vibrational feelings of love, trust, support, confidence, empowerment, all of those good higher energies. That's where you can start to reconnect to those. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.